And I'm going to say this right out the bat. The MVP and most important person in that defensive line position room, Rodney Garner, he can coach some dudes, and the dudes know it, and the dudes want to come play for him, as evidenced by a couple of people they were able to pull in this recruiting class, as well as the fact that they had a 5-star defensive lineman on campus this weekend. So, yesterday, as a matter of fact. So, Rodney is the reason why people can be excited about the future of the defensive line position. Um, here's my quick breakdown of them. I think we have 3 groups of guys. There's 3. There's one group that are people that have a lot of experience and we know we can rely on. There's another group of 2 guys who I can't wait to see what they do this year because they're young and they're really good. And then there's 2 freshmen that are going to be very interesting and see what they do. But here's who I got in these groups. The first group, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys. 6 guys in this group. And these are people who have a lot of experience on playing in Power 5 college football. They are reliable for Tennessee at this spot. That's Amari Thomas. He's got to be the lead dog. He has to be the dude on the defensive line this year, especially being an interior lineman. We need him to be every bit as good as he was last year, if not better. Tyler Barron, there's another guy we know we can rely on. Bryson Eason, Karat Garland, he's got to have a big year too. Roman Harrison, he's technically listed as a defensive lineman. He's kind of more of like a hybrid outside linebacker, but Roman Harrison, he finished with an extremely strong finish to the year last year. Let's hope he continues that this year. And one guy that I included in this category that you could make a case doesn't belong there is Elijah Simmons. It's time. We have seen him. Everybody brags on how he sings. Even in the Vol Club Confidential interview with somebody, I can't remember which guy it was, a new guy. He said, Austin Price asked him, "What's one thing that surprised you so far?" And he goes, "Elijah can really sing." Well, we need him to be the huge dude that he is in the middle of the defensive line. That's what we need him to be, and it's time. I mean, like it's time. He's had 3 years to develop. This is his year. It's time. So that's my first group, the group that has experience, that's reliable. Here's my next 2 dudes. And these are the dudes I'm really excited about because I want to see what they can do. Joshua Josephs and James Pierce Jr. No relation. He can be an honorary bro, though. He's got the right last name. We just spell it differently. Those 2 guys, you talk about flashes of brilliance last year and just flashes of extreme talent. They had it, buddy. And so I'm really excited to see what they do this year, especially Joshua Josephs as a speed rusher. My goodness, he was incredible to watch last year. So much fun. And then my last group is 2 guys as well. And it's 2 highly touted freshmen coming in. David Hobbs, first of all. And then he's already on campus. Both of these guys are already on campus, early enrollees. And then Elijah Herring's brother, Caleb Herring, who is technically listed as a defensive lineman, but essentially it's like Roman Harrison 2.0. He's a hybrid outside linebacker, basically, is what he is. And so those 2 guys, I'm really excited to see what they bring to the table because they are highly touted. What do you think?
So Rodney Garner's best teams at Auburn, he rotated 12 defensive linemen. He loves having packages. He loves being able to throw different looks in different situations. And he has always hung his hat on playing a lot of guys. This may sound crazy, but I legitimately think he could play up to 15 people this year. And I think 9 of them will end up in the NFL at some point. I think this is hands down the deepest and most talented position on our entire roster, offense or defense. I think they've done an amazing job.
That's a bold statement.
I'm just going to call it now. I think they've done a fantastic job recruiting talent, developing talent, and keeping talent. Because look at what
Rodney
we're
Garner.
talking about. Yeah, it's 100% Rodney Garner. Austin just mentioned Tyree West there in the comments. Um, you know,
For those who might be listening to the audio podcast, Austin said, "I feel like Tyree West is forgotten. Dude is a stud and was a bigger recruit than people remember." It's a great point. Absolutely, great
and
point.
and he got a shout out after the scrimmage. It was interesting who they mentioned from the scrimmage. They mentioned Tyree West. They mentioned Elijah Simmons. They mentioned all the Leos: Caleb Herring, Roman Harrison, James Pierce. They love those guys. They mentioned Tyler Barron. I think the four starters are going to be Tyler Barron, Amari Thomas, Elijah Simmons, and Roman Harrison. But literally, there are so many different looks that Rodney Garner can throw out there. I mean, think about this: interior defensive linemen. Listen to this list. This is not including the two starters, Amari Thomas and Elijah Simmons. You've got Tyree West, you've got Bryson Eason, Amari McNeil, Dominic Bailey, David Hobbs, the 5-star, Dejon Terry, who has played major minutes and done extremely well,
Yeah,
Omar Norman Lott, who was our
yeah,
primary target in the transfer portal, and Karat Garland. So right there, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 defensive tackles that they are going to feel very comfortable putting on the field. Then you go to defensive end, and you've got Tyler Barron, you've got Roman Harrison, you got James Pierce, you got Caleb Herring, you got Joshua Josephs. I mean, they got some dudes. And
yeah.
and these are guys, I'm not exaggerating when I think I would be willing to bet that of these 15 names we just said, 9 of them will end up in the NFL at some point. I mean, there's some legit talent here, and they fit the mold. And everybody in the NFL loves Charlie Garner defensive linemen. I mean, they know they've been trained well, they know they've been prepared for the next level, and championships are won on the defensive line. Georgia's proven that, Alabama's proven
Yeah,
that.
Clemson
Defensive
proved that.
line is where you win championships, and we have a championship defensive line this year.
I'm glad you mentioned Omar Norman Lott. I totally forgot. He would be in my first group. I had 6 dudes. He would be in that group. Transfer from Arizona State was a big deal getting him out of the transfer portal.
Everybody wanted him.
So I mean that's a huge addition. I mean, you're right. They can run out there. I mean, think about this. Even last year, they didn't have that many different guys. But think about how many different looks they would throw at offenses last year. Tyler Barron lined up. Maybe if you go back and watch the whole season, Tyler Barron may have lined up at every single defensive line position at some point during
Yeah.
the season. Even Cole Kubelik when he was. I can't remember which game it was he had at Tennessee, but he was standing in the back of the end zone talking about specifically Byron Young and Tyler Barron. I just totally blanked those names. And he's talking about the two of them, and he's like, it's really interesting to see how they're using them on the defensive line right now. Because, Cole's sitting there looking at that from an offensive line perspective, and he's sitting there thinking, man, that'd be kind of tough matching up with those dudes on the interior and then on the outside of the line and stuff. So he was impressed by how they were using different looks to confuse offenses, different looks to create mismatches against the offensive line. And I'll tell you who really benefited a lot from how they would stunt and everything like that was Joshua Josephs.
Yeah.
When he would come in the game, they would run that stunt and he would come free. It seemed like once a game every time they put him in. He would come on the inside, right inside that left tackle, and golly bum, he just blew up the quarterback sometimes. So I mean, he's so fast. That's the thing. That's why I'm so excited about watching him play again this year. Because I mean, after being in a college football strength and conditioning program for over a year now, he's just going to get better. And that's what's so exciting about him, because you could see flashes of just pure athleticism last year when he was playing that people couldn't catch up to him. And that made me think about Aaron Beasley, which I mean, that we'll talk about him next time in the linebackers. But I mean, talk about somebody who started at point A last year and ended at way up here at point B. I mean, he was dominating that Clemson game. He was the best defender on the field for both teams. I mean, it was incredible.
And
So
I know we're talking defensive line, but I love what they're saying about Aaron Beasley in spring practice, coming out of winter workouts, going into spring practice. He is absolutely leading.
yes,
And that's a big deal because he deferred to Jeremy Banks in the past, and he really needed to be the lead guy.
and it's a good thing that he is, because he's going to be the leader on the field. That's for sure. He's going to be running that defense. But yeah, defensive line. I mean, I think it's the first time, like you said, it's the first time in a long time that we can look at the defensive line and be like, man, we're going to be all right there. Because we had
I
zero depth
love,
for a long time.
yeah, I love when Rodney Garner goes with his cheetah package on 3rd and long, and with this group, that'll probably look like he'll probably move Tyler Barron and Roman Harrison inside and bring in Josephs and James Pierce on the edge, and just say, go get him.
Yeah.
And those 4 guys at full speed coming off the ball is a really tough assignment for a defensive line or offensive line.
Yep. Especially when they're stunting and crossing each other and stuff like that. That's not fun. And imagine being, here's where that really comes into play. If you line up as 3rd and long and you see these guys come in and you're the running back and you're sitting there thinking, all right, I know in situations like this in the past, those 2 guys have stunted, but then I got that Beasley guy back there. He might be coming at me too. Who am I going to pick up? Which, I mean, that presents so many problems for an offense, and that's a great problem to have for us. You know what I'm saying?
Think about this. I was just looking at this depth chart. Think about this. David Hobbs is possibly the highest rated recruit that Rodney Garner's had. No, he probably is the highest rated recruit Rodney Garner's had at Tennessee. Right now, he's probably 13th in the rotation. There are legitimately 12 guys ahead of him right now,
which is a great thing for the University of Tennessee.
Oh, it's amazing.
It's a great thing. That allows him time to develop. You can still play him in 4 games this year and still redshirt him. So, I mean, we'll see him on the field at some point, hopefully not in the first or second quarter of any game, because he's, we have so many guys who are better in that position at this time, and he's just going to have time to get better and better and better. And then next year and the year after, he can dominate, in years past, if we had a 5-star recruit come in, it'd be like, all right, dude, you gotta be ready, because we need you like right now. And hopefully that's not the case in this situation.
But what a luxury it would be if he is that good right off the bat.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And they don't get to redshirt him because he can't be kept off the field, and that allows them to redshirt or COVID year or whatever you want to call it, 2 or 3 other guys, and all of a sudden we're stockpiling depth for years to come.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for that too. That'd be cool with me. I mean, just once again, when we talked about the wide receiver room, we talked about a embarrassment of riches, how many weapons and talent is in that room. Like I said, for the first time in a long, long time, there's actually a lot of depth in the defensive line room. And that is a incredible, just like Rustin said, that is an incredibly important thing, especially in the SEC. Because think about this. How many years have we as Tennessee fans sat there and thought, my goodness, their quarterback has all day to throw the ball, all day. And if we weren't bringing linebackers, there was no way we were getting any pressure on the quarterback. For years, we sat through that. Last year, we saw a glimmer of hope. We were getting to the quarterback rushing 4. And this year, we're going to have a luxury of being able to rush the quarterback with only 4 guys. And that's going to no longer will. Oh, I hope no longer will it be like 3rd and 18, and we're all just sitting there going, well, they're going to get it. I know they will, because we all had battered Vols syndrome, that kind of thing. And now we're going to be like, man, we got the ball back. We're going to go score again. That's what we're going to be saying. And you can get your battered Vols survivor syndrome shirt from our website.
I think the most interesting comment of the entire last week in practice interviews and press conferences and all that stuff. Keenan Peely, the linebacker transfer from BYU, who has over 100 tackles in college, and
that dude,
really,
he's gonna make an appearance in the linebacker preview.
big time player, definite NFL prospect. He made the comment earlier this week that he's really enjoying this defense because it's a lot more aggressive than what he's used to. Okay, so those of us who have watched this defense for the last 2 years, we're going, wait, what? Maybe, just maybe, Tim Banks is finally comfortable enough with the guys on the field that he has fully opened up the playbook, and we're actually going to see the Michigan stunt packages, and we're going to see Aaron Beasley and Keenan Peely flying in the backfield a lot more than we have in the past. Because that was a weird statement for him to say this was more aggressive than what he's used to. BYU is a pretty stunting physical defense. And so for him to say this was more aggressive definitely got my attention.
Well, it's a fun time to be a Vols fan, that's for sure. And we so appreciate Ginger of Marvelous Mouse Travels for being the sponsor of our position preview series. You can find her at youtube.com/gingermmt or at gingermmt.com. Her travel planning services are completely free to you when you book through her, and that's for real. Like, it doesn't cost you literally anything to use her services.